I probably wouldn't say the Bible was written for us. I think it was written for the people that it was written to. And I don't think God actually intended us to build and base our life on what was written in a period of transition we're not in. Now, that's not to say that the truth contained within that isn't useful, because it is one of the things that which is inspired is useful for. It is useful for, but I'm not sure God intended it to be put into the format that it is and been canonized and then restricted as there is no more after this point. I definitely don't believe that. I think every generation should have their own, in a sense, scriptures that God has written, inspired to be written for them and is relevant to them. I don't think most of the context of what was written, particularly what Jesus spoke to the Jewish people that he was audience, was really designed for them in helping them out of or what was coming. And John's gospel, I think, was much more speaking to us. Not saying you can't draw truth from it, because obviously what Jesus spoke was true, but it may not be still true because he was speaking it into a situation which is no longer here. In a sense, it may still be true if people who are Jews read it, because it still might speak to them about the scriptures and traditions and everything else, and pointing to him as being one with God. And if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. But actually, most of the way in which it was written to them doesn't make sense to most people today. And then they try and make sense of it by coming up with all sorts of theology and doctrines to explain how it works today, when actually I don't think we need to do that, because we have the Holy Spirit and we have Jesus who promises to speak to us today. So I think as there were letters that Paul wrote to the Romans, and as there were books that we call of the Bible, there should be books today. And each of us actually should be a book, a living epistle. And our life stories should be part of what people can engage today. And whether that's written or whether that's just by engaging in relationship with us. So, I definitely think the 2 Timothy 3:16, which evangelicalism has used to promote an inerrant and infallible word, it isn't there. And what it does say is, it absolutely is correct. What you're saying is all inspired writings, because the word is just graphe. It's not capital S as if it means the Bible. That's been put in by the translators because they have interpreted it to mean the Bible. That was written in AD 50 something. They didn't have a Bible until AD 385. So, in the 30 years in between, what were inspired scriptures, writings, and what weren't. And some things which they quoted and were on the list, like the Apocalypse of Peter, for instance, are not in our present Bible. And actually, the original scriptures that they did include was the Catholic version, which had the Apocrypha in it. Those were thrown out by the Protestants. Those were in there in the original. So which is the original? Well, it's the authorized version. God reauthorized it to King James. But that's what evangelicals actually believe. That's why it's called the authorized version to them, because God authorized it for the Protestants. I mean, it's just nonsense, but it's mythology. And so many Christians would, well, the Bible's inerrant and infallible. Nowhere does it claim to be inerrant and infallible, because it's a collection of books written and letters and things written by people.